So this this next week we're going to learn about go back take a look at frequency tables, but we're going to look at them a little bit different way. We're going to want to be able to talk about shape, center, and spread of a frequency table or of a distribution, because that's where we're going next is with sampling distribution. So I thought it'd be good to come back and take a look at this. So this is some data we looked at the first part of back in January, and it was, I don't know, what was it? It was a whole bunch of NCAA football players. I think there was 100 and, I'm looking at the data table, looks like there's about 125 players. And what we did is we made a frequency table, and we do a bar graph or histogram of that data. Now, suppose we want to go backwards. Suppose we don't have the data, but we need to be able to find a mean and a standard deviation. I'm not going to have you do the standard deviation, but certainly you'd want to be able to think about the mean and the median and the shape. Shape, center, spread is what it's all about. So here's the histogram we made, and I'd like you to look at it and think about, well, what shape do we see? Do we see a left skewed shape? Is it symmetric or is it right skewed? I'm hoping you said right skewed. Remember, it looks like your right foot, where your big toes, here, let me get a pointer going here. Where's the pointer? Where you get the big toe over here and then goes down your little toe, right? So it's a right skewed distribution. So I suspect the mean is going to be bigger than the median. I don't know if we need to find the median, but we do want to be able to come up with an estimate of the mean at least, because that's where it's all going to, is means. I see right skewed distribution. I don't see any data. So what we've got to do is be able to come up with a way of approximating the data so we can find the mean of it. And then it just goes back to being a weighted mean, like we did 2 weeks ago. So if you look at my histogram here, you see how the bins are set up. These, bars are the bins. We talked about this already, so don't feel too bad calling them bins right now. So that goes from 300 to 320. And I also see, I know these are counts over here because I said frequency table, not a relative frequency table. So this tells me that between 300 and 420, there were about 18 people, 18 players fell into that range. I don't know the exact values. Without the raw data, I couldn't tell the exact values, but I know that 18 of those players landed right there. So I'm going to write 18. And then we'll worry about the numbers here. Let's fill in this table. So then I see on this one, I see 19 people fell in that, or 19 players fell into that. Hope you see that I'm just getting the count to the frequencies. Next bin, I see 23. Here, let's see if I can shrink this down a little bit and still be able to write this in. So what do I say, 23? Let's see if I can write in 23. And then the next one is down here, and that's what, 10? And then if you want, why don't I just go ahead and stop this video and fill these in. So again, you see, all I did was I looked to fill in this table. I'm going to make you do this on a MyOpen Math assignment. I looked at how high the bar was, and that's the number that I filled in. So between, what is that, between 780 and 899, or 780 and 900, I saw 17, and up here, see how it's 15, and then 2 more than that is 17. So that's all I did was fill that in. Now, I've got to be able to come up with the mean, estimate the mean. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to estimate it. I don't know what numbers fell in that range. Here, let me get I know that well, actually I do know what numbers fell in the range. I know the range, but I don't know what numbers filled it. So between 300 and 420. So a good way to do this is to come up with the middle, come up with a guess. So let's see, what is the middle of 300 and 320? Well, 420. Well, we'll just add those together and divide it by 2. So that is what? 720 divided by 2 is going to be 360, I think. Okay, so we come back up here and we'll say it looks like this on average there's about 360. And then we could do it for the next one. Let's see. So halfway between or the average of 420. Whoops. Let's undo what I just did. Halfway between 420 and 540 is, well, let's see. 420 and 540 is 960, and half of 960 is 480. Now, there's an easier way to do this, certainly with it, at least from this format. Notice how this is jumping by 120 each time. That means these will also jump by 120. So the next number is going to be 600. I added 120 to 480. The next one's going to jump up by 120, so that's 720. This is 840, 960, 1080, 1200, 1320. I almost messed that one up. And then 1440, I'm just adding the 100 and 120 each time. 1440, not 1444. And then 1560. Okay, so now you gotta stretch, unfuzz your brain. And remember, now that we've got these estimates of what the numbers are that fell in those bins, and we know how many fell there, how do we get the weighted mean for these numbers? Because that's all we're asking for. I hope you remember that we're just going to multiply these values, right? 360 times 18 will be the total for that one. We'll do 480 times 19. We'll do 600 times 23, and it isn't exact, we're estimating, okay? And we're just gonna keep doing this all the way down. I'm gonna stop this video and go load a spreadsheet and bring that in. Okay, so I got that data into the spreadsheet, and we have, notice we're not the data, but have these values. So now we're just gonna do a weighted mean, just like what we did before. Here's the middle, that's our estimate of what the numbers are, and the average number it's in that bin. And there's 18 of them it's in there, so we're going to multiply the 360 times the 18 and the 480 times the 19. And of course, I just filled this down. Remember how you do that? You do, if you can do with a spreadsheet, just fill it down. Some of you did this by hand a couple weeks ago, and that's fine. And then we're going to divide that number by that number, and that tells me that on average is 750. That on average they did 750.72 passing yards. Now, if we come back and look at that histogram, let's see. 750 fell somewhere in here, right? So to the upper side of that bar. And this is a right skew distribution, so I would expect this to be higher than the actual